and they are communicating with both the California Highway Patrol and LAPD, and we'll have to see if other units begin to take over this pursuit. But you can see this vehicle here, this gray hatchback, small SUV or sedan that was being pursued by California Highway Patrol was Valley Division, now being followed by an LAPD airship until other agencies get involved or they decide to cancel that airship as well. You saw that airship go through that shot just a second ago. So now we are eastbound Ventura Boulevard, coming up on Yarmouth. Here in Los Angeles, up in the San Fernando Valley, and we are just going to continue to follow this as it continues forward. We're eastbound Ventura Boulevard through White Oak now here, and like I said, LAP is not in pursuit. They do have an airship overhead. CHP was in pursuit, but they have been told to stand down, back out of it because it was getting too dangerous with this driver going on the wrong side of the road at super high speeds. The driver is driving a little different now, still pretty fast for the traffic scenario that it is in, but it is not on the wrong side of the road, but it is still being erratic coming up on Encino Avenue here, Ventura Boulevard and Encino Avenue. There you go, cut from the number 3 lane to the number 2 lane all the way over to the center divider, and now going down the center divider at a high rate of speed. We'll have to see what he does here, if he's going to turn around or if he's just trying to avoid this traffic. It looks like he's just trying to avoid the traffic here, going down that center divider at roughly 42 miles an hour, continuing down that center divider. People aren't expecting this when they're attempting to turn into a business or a driveway. They don't expect to see cars moving quickly in that center divider, so they might not look over their shoulder and see that coming or expect it coming, and that might cause an accident. Now we're in that left-hand turn pocket here at Ventura Boulevard and Louise. We'll have to see if this suspect makes that turn. Now we're northbound Louise from Ventura Boulevard. And we are hearing now from LAPD that this is a Kia, and that they are now interested in locating this vehicle and seeing if they can stop it. You see wrong way on Louise here, northbound in those southbound lanes, going through the trees here. Thank you. And I learn something new every day. Getting great information from my assignment desk. Matt Phillips there knows quite a bit about cars, and LAPD actually had the wrong type of vehicle for this. They're calling it a Kia, but it's actually a Ford hatchback, as you can see here, gray in color, still going northbound Louise, around 25 miles an hour, slowing down, going faster, very erratic in its speed. It doesn't really have any traffic ahead. It does have one car, but we'll have to see what he does when it approaches that car, if it's going to try to pass it, or what's next. It's going to go right shoulder around that car, and come up to the stop sign, cross traffic, and it half stops at that signal, and now we're going to do a fake turn, and now we're going over the 101 freeway. That's the 101 freeway you see underneath Louise here that the suspect is going over, and LAPD's air unit is still overhead, calling out positions to agencies in the area to keep the officer safe, and hopefully if there's an officer that spots it, they can get involved and get this resolved peacefully. But you can see that high rate of speed here on Burbank Boulevard, now going 45 miles an hour on Burbank eastbound, coming into more traffic here. We'll see what he does. Last time we saw this, he hopped in that center divider. It looks like he's going to stick in that number 1 fast lane. And now where we are in that center divider, once again, eastbound Burbank coming up on Edward E. Horton, wrong way in those turn lanes there, back in that center divider, and we'll see what happens here. But going about 50 miles an hour now in that center divider, just way too quick for that stop traffic on the right there and the head-on traffic on the left. But as we continue here, coming up to another turn pocket here, right side of the road, and it looks like he is stuck there, so we'll have to see if he jumps around into that oncoming traffic, or if he just waits for that light. This is Burbank Boulevard at Balboa Boulevard here in the West Valley area of Los Angeles. And it does look like LAPD does have a unit behind this vehicle now. We'll see if that unit knows what's going on and if it's going to get involved, or if it's just a unit that was in the air and had another call and it's going to turn. But it looks like we'll see here in just a few moments as this continues on. And it does look like this West Valley unit from LAPD, you can see that number 10 on the top, West Valley, they are going to get involved in this. They are following that suspect vehicle into that straight lane, that number 1 lane there, out of the turn pocket. So he does know what's going on, and it looks like he is going to get involved. Eastbound still Burbank at Balboa, waiting for that light to turn green. We'll have to see what happens. There's LAPD's air unit overhead calling out this now following of this driver here who was driving erratically, and that is what the want was from California Highway Patrol just 10-15 minutes ago when they were in pursuit of this vehicle. And now we're continuing eastbound on Burbank at McKellen, and that primary unit is behind it now. They're just getting all their ducks in a row before they attempt to do any sort of stop on this vehicle, making sure they have the right wants on the vehicle. Why CHP was pursuing it? Was it just a failure to yield, not stopping for the police? Was there other things like reckless driving, which that was the original call, or the original reason that the California Highway Patrol attempted to pull over the vehicle, and then ended the pursuit over that same reason of going wrong side on the road at a high rate of speed. So we're continuing to follow this on Burbank Boulevard, going through Havenhurst now, eastbound at about 45 miles an hour here on surface streets. We're still eastbound Burbank, going through Woodley now here on in the West Valley and Van Nuys area of LAPD's areas. You got that one unit going behind the vehicle there. They're still tracking this vehicle, deciding what to do next. Air unit overhead, multiple air units actually talking about this now. CHP and LAPD deciding whose jurisdiction and who's going to be taking care of this if it does go pursuit again. But this is not a pursuit at the moment. It is just a following. At this point, that unit following this vehicle that was wanted by California Highway Patrol for reckless driving was in pursuit. That pursuit ended about 10 minutes ago now, and LAPD is considering taking it over. You can see that unit behind it there. And if you're just joining us online, thank you for joining us on KTLA.com and our social media platforms. I'm Colton Bonfertz, and for 10 minutes today, we're Pilot David Biskovich here over this pursuit that turned into a following here in the Los Angeles, San Fernando Valley area. We're seeing a second LAPD unit hopping behind that primary unit there, that SUV. You see that Crown Victoria hopping in behind it. Typically, if something goes pursuit, there's 3 units in a pursuit. There are 2 regular units and then a supervisor. And so this is just continuing, getting ready, just in case they do decide to go pursuit on this. We are hearing on the scanner that there might be a possibility of this driver being under the influence or having some sort of illness. And so they're trying to call the suspect right now. It sounds like they do know who this suspect is. And so they're trying to get a hold of them and see what's going on before they go into some sort of pursuit that might put the public or the suspect or officers at danger. That's the last thing that the police department wants, is to put more people into danger. Still eastbound Burbank and at Woodley, stuck in traffic in that slow lane, that number 3 lane, just making its way along at about 18 miles an hour now. While we're here and we're going to try to see in that driver window, see if we can see that driver there. The windows are tinted. You'll see something on that dash, but unfortunately due to the tinted windows, all we see is the driver's hand on the steering wheel, but we are now moving again. I'm going to pull out just a little while. And we are coming up on the 405 freeway now. We're going to see what happens here. And it looks like we just saw that primary unit in this put on their lights, and it looks like the driver is not stopping at this point. We'll have to see if he tries to stop at a safer spot. There's not much of a curb there, but it looks like we are stopped in the street here. There's no, okay, and here we go, into the center divider. We haven't heard the word quite yet, but this suspect is fleeing from the vehicle wrong ways in the street here. Now back over eastbound on Burbank through Woodley, and in that intersection there, just missing that cross traffic. We have one LAPD unit behind it, one more behind that. We are at Sepulveda and eastbound on Burbank. They are calling this a reckless possible DUI driver. See that driver there in that center divider now going about 60 miles an hour. LAPD is in pursuit of this DUI driver now eastbound Burbank through Kester. Eastbound Burbank through Kester at 70 miles an hour here on the surface street. Let's see what happens when he comes up here to Kester. Southbound Kester from Burbank. Here's all the way back up to 50 miles an hour again after going through that turn. The units are a bit behind it, but there is an air unit directly overhead calling this out to those ground units as this vehicle continues southbound on Kester from Burbank. 83 miles an hour right now. 83 miles an hour right now on this surface street. Way too dangerous for this area that does have residences in it. You see there are intersections, possibility of cross traffic. That unit has backed off quite a bit, but it is still now going through the center divider. Even though those LAPD units are not right behind, they are going into tracking mode following this suspect from the air, and those units on the ground backing just a hair back out of view, so that hopefully the suspect begins to slow down. Under the 101 there, we saw it go through the screen still southbound on Kester, coming up on Camarillo, coming up to an intersection here. We'll have to see what happens. So just going down the center of those lanes there, taking up both lanes, but now we are coming up on, whoa, look at that. Didn't know what he wanted to do, saw that traffic there, wrong way of the street, and now westbound on Ventura Boulevard from Kester here now. Now, when LAPD is in tracking mode, they are still actively calling this out to their units on the ground, so their units are aware and are in the area, but they are not lights and sirens going right behind the vehicle, attempting to get the suspect to slow down and pull over so that they can apprehend them at a later time. But that air unit is overhead, still calling it out. And now we're out wrong side of the street there once again, westbound here on the eastbound lanes at Ventura, going through Sepulveda. We'll have to see what happens here once we get around this building. There he is. Going under that 405 freeway, high rate of speed. There's probably traffic under there due to that light on the other side there. He is coming out that turn pocket. We'll see what he does. We are going southbound 405 now. Southbound 405 from Ventura This is where the California Highway Patrol could take over this pursuit once again. We'll have to tune in and hear what happens. The LAPD is in tracking mode of this pursuit of a DUI driver. Wow, just pushing out in front of that truck you saw there. High rates of speed all the way up to 75 miles an hour just off that on-ramp there. 85 now. Here's southbound 405 from Sepulveda. Air unit still overhead as this goes southbound 405, starting the Sepulveda Pass here. 90 miles an hour now here southbound 405 through Royal Oak. If you're just joining us online, this is a DUI driver that CHP attempted to pull over earlier for reckless driving. The suspect did run from the California Highway Patrol West Valley Division, and they did terminate that pursuit, the California Highway Patrol did at least, because of reckless driving where the driver was going wrong side of the road. LAPD later picked up the vehicle and air unit over the head. They attempted to pull over the vehicle once more. A pursuit did occur. Driver did begin driving recklessly once again. That's when it became a pursuit of a reckless driving under the influence suspect. They did go into tracking, though. Now we're tracking on the southbound 405 through the Sepulveda Pass here, this gray Ford small SUV hatchback. Going through Mulholland now, 75 miles an hour into that HOV lane there. LAPD now backing out of this pursuit, terminating the pursuit. They're no longer in pursuit of this vehicle. The air unit does have the permission to let CHP know what's going on, see if they want it back. This driver is still recklessly driving, cutting through different lanes here, about 95 miles an hour here on the southbound 405 through the Sepulveda Pass. We are hearing that on the other side of the Sepulveda Pass there are some units ready just in case this gets into their area. But this Ford here is going 106 miles an hour right now according to Skyview 5 here southbound 405. LAPD now air unit following this vehicle, trying to get a hold of CHP, see what they'd like to do, but LAPD supervisors have called off the pursuit due to the danger of the speeds, and it's no longer technically in their jurisdiction as it is on the freeway system and not on surface streets. And right now in Sky 5, what I'm going to try to do is tune into the California Highway Patrol and see what their plan is here. In that right-hand emergency lane there, that's a very dangerous place to go, especially at high speed, but at any speed, because there might be broken down vehicles there that you might not be able to stop through. But all the way from that right-hand shoulder into those HOV lane there, this suspect is bouncing back and forth across all lanes of the southbound 405, right now at 80 miles.
We are watching a reckless driving suspect through the west side of Los Angeles. This is now officially a pursuit. The LAPD, and my guess is CHP will be involved with this as well, pursuing this suspect who has been driving recklessly. We've seen it live on the air, driving against traffic, speeding, approaching 100 miles an hour on the freeway, going from lane to lane without a lot of regard for traffic laws or regard for other driver's safety. This is now moving its way through the west side and approaching the Brentwood neighborhood of Los Angeles.
Yeah, we're already getting down past Sunset Boulevard now. We've got Santa Monica Boulevard coming up. The traffic's still fairly light, but I mean, looking ahead, though, traffic does start to slow down at the 10 freeway. You kind of get into the Culver City area.
I'm looking at my map here, Kevin, where you see, where there's traffic, and it's showing south of that 10 freeway. It is red. It's a red zone there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Will that carpool lane be wide enough open that the car can continue on? Will that driver try to get off on one of the other freeways? But look at these speeds here. Very scary. As you said, Kevin, where are we now? Because we're getting close to that 10, right?
We're just passing Wilshire, coming up on Santa Monica Boulevard, and then we're going to have that 10 split coming up here. He's in the right lanes there. And he's in those right lanes there, making it look like he might be able to go there with the CHP unit that he just passed by. So you're going to see if that CHP unit comes up, but still speed as he's moving here very fast. But coming up, like you were saying, there's a lot of red coming up on the freeways here, and even the carpool lane does bog down. So it depends. We'll see if he tries to use the right shoulder. There isn't much left shoulder there with the carpool lane, but still back and forth here. We're coming up on the 10 freeway, so we'll see which way he's going to go.
Yeah, I mean, this car showing a lot of ability to speed as it weaves in and out of traffic, now approaching over 90 miles an hour, approaching 100 miles an hour, once again, weaving through lanes on the 405 freeway, heading south. So this is towards the Culver City area. If he stays on this freeway, he'll head towards the airport. Marina Del Rey comes first.
We're just passing Olympic. There's a CHP unit that's starting to close in, trying to catch up to him here. And we're past the 10 split, so now we're moving southbound here, continuing on the 405 freeway, and there's a lot of traffic. You can see it's starting to get heavier here as we move southbound, both in that carpool lane. So this driver's using weaving back and forth, all lanes, even the right shoulder here. You've got a couple of merges coming up, so there's going to be a lot. Everything's going to really come to a stop here.
Whoa. That guy is caught in the middle of traffic, driving now on the shoulder. I mean, like I said, looking at my map, it is red from here on for a while. So interesting to see where this driver thinks he's going to go.
He might use the 90 to try to go towards the marina.
If he can get that far. I mean, it's back-to-back, bumper to bumper, according to my red zone here.
He doesn't seem to care. Look at this guy. I mean, we were really close to an accident there a few moments ago.
Yeah, he's really moving here using that right shoulder, and you can see traffic down below. He's doing like 70 miles an hour, up to 70 miles an hour, and the traffic alongside is only doing like 35 or less and stop and go.
So it is now officially, Kevin, this is now officially a CHP pursuit. You do see a cruiser there at the bottom of your screen a second ago. You see another cruiser there. You wonder if they're going to start to take any sort of measures or just try to stay behind him. I mean, obviously, doing something like a pit maneuver in the freeway would be extremely dangerous and not something.
Now he just coming up on another cruiser, and then they're now really taking off.
So far, those cruisers have sort of left him. I mean, Kevin, the cruisers really don't have a lot of options when somebody's going 70 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour on a freeway, do they?
No, they don't. But I can tell you, there are also a couple of motor officers that are also there. They're a lot more maneuverable in this traffic to stay up with him. So the cruisers are kind of hanging back right now, trying to stay up with it. But I am hearing that there are a couple of motor officers that are in the carpool lane across from him. You can't see them right now, but they are in that carpool lane and they're keeping pace with him. So they are staying onto the other side and kind of keeping an eye on him as he's been zigzagging around.
So then we just passed Washington Boulevard, Culver Boulevard. This is near Venice and Mar Vista area.
So you're right. He could get perhaps on that 90 freeway now. He's made his way all the way down there. It's interesting to note, Alex, with my red zone here on my map, that this is a red zone, I guess, during a pandemic where you still have cars where the wheels are moving. They're still in motion here. Stop, bumper to bumper, dead stop. But man, that is so dangerous there the way he's driving there on that shoulder.
Of course, on a regular day, this is one of the busiest traffic areas in the entire country, the 405, which is so heavily trafficked. Usually the 405 South, as you mentioned, at this time of day is not as bad as the 405 North, but whatever the day, in this particular part of the 405 South, there's always traffic backed up.
And I'm looking at it being red for quite a while there, as you get down
Here
to
comes the 90.
LAX.
And we'll see if this driver takes the 90 towards Marina Del Rey and towards the ocean, or decides to stick with the 405.
Yeah, he's just staying in and using those right lanes there. Those are the fastest. You can see on the left side, things are moving a lot slower here, but we'll see what happens as he comes up on the end. Looks like a splasher. He's got his hazard lights on as he moves south there. So the split's coming up. We'll see what he's going to do.
And then, of course, beyond that, you have LAX, El Segundo, your beach communities, Manhattan Beach, towards Hermosa Beach.
Stayed on the 405, did not take the 90.
And Kevin, I'm still seeing traffic way ahead as well. Are you as well?
Yeah, there's still traffic.
Even as Jefferson.
Getting off at Jefferson.
So here we go, onto side streets now. CHP technically had moved into tracking mode. You wonder if one of the other law enforcement agencies might pick this up. Hopefully we're able to spot
Culver City now. This is in the city, in Culver City proper here. So we'll see. He went through it. He's getting back on the 405.
You see him?
As we're trying to spot the vehicle again, we're getting information here at Fox 11 that the law enforcement, they know who the driver is. So as we continue to follow this pursuit, we'll pick the car back up right there.
There it is.
They know who the driver is.
Nice job by Skyfox there to find that person. I guess it's the one driving really fast with the flashers on.
And there are now some of those other crews. He passed a couple of other CHP cruisers, and now they're back in. Just a couple of vehicles behind him now. So a lot of traffic here. He slowed down just a little bit as we go here, continuing southbound. We're coming up on Howard Hughes Parkway.
We're getting very close to LAX now.
Kevin, as we are watching this, I'm wondering how often it is that law enforcement is able to figure out who the driver is in these pursuits, and how much it weighs on them as to whether they're going to engage or not engage.
Well, after they've gone through and run the plates and find if there's no outstanding warrants or anything else like that, then the car doesn't come back to being stolen. So at that point, they figure that the driver of the vehicle is the registered owner of the vehicle, so they can track them down at another time. But you can see speeds have kind of slowed down a bit here. The ground units have backed off much further now. So you can see since that's happened, speeds have slowed down quite a bit here as we make our way southbound here. We just passed Howard Hughes Parkway. So La Tierra is coming up next, and we'll see what happens at that point. But speeds have definitely slowed down here since the CHP has kind of backed off. They're about a quarter of a mile back, but the airship is still following as we go southbound.
Well, you think of La Tierra as we're getting towards LAX, an area that also tends to back up during rush hour traffic, and then continuing on, as I said earlier, into the beach communities along the freeway. We talk also about suspects going to an area that is familiar to them. The suspect, once on the freeway, has not attempted to really get off the freeway much at all. We're in the Westchester area now on the 405 still southbound. This again started in the Valley, Encino area, Tarzana area, and the suspect has shown no signs of trying to turn around to get back on the freeway northbound to go back towards that area.
Still continuing southbound here, coming up to Florence, and like I said, speeds have dropped considerably now. We're down to about normal traffic speed here with the rest of the flow of traffic here as we move southbound and kind of having to move around. LAX is kind of pushing around a little bit, so we need to kind of stay off the 405 freeway, and but they are allowing it to be a little bit closer. Sometimes they really push off to the other side of LAX, but now as we're moving southbound here through the Inglewood area and just passing Manchester, speeds was up to 80 miles an hour, but you see traffic, the volume of traffic has opened up a little bit. Everybody is doing about 70 miles an hour now, but up ahead, there is a still slowdown through the South Bay Curve there, south of the 105. We'll have to see how this driver deals with that when they come to it.
Yeah,
we're now in the city of Inglewood. This driver on the 405 freeway. If you're just joining us at 5:50, Alex Michaels and Christine Devine, Tevin Kumi. We're looking at a reckless driving suspect. At times, the LAPD was pursuing this suspect. At times, the CHP actively pursuing this suspect. Right now, we believe that the CHP is in what's called tracking mode. They are not having a bunch of cruisers right behind it because this driver has driven so recklessly. And what Kevin was mentioning was some of the challenges for Skyfox in terms of certain parts of the air around LAX is protected so that our helicopter doesn't crash into an airplane, and some of their maneuvers that they're pulling in order to keep everybody safe.
Very high speeds here, 90 miles an hour here as this driver passes through the LAX area. According to my maps,
coming up on the 105.
110.
Wow.
115 miles per hour now. I mean, the farther our Skyfox is, the more challenging it is for that speed measuring to be exactly accurate, but still, you get the sense this person is going really, really fast right now.
But the freeway, though, wide open in this area. I don't see a backup until Redondo Beach Boulevard, so this driver can continue at these speeds quite easily, Kevin.
He's staying in that carpool lane now. He's out of the carpool lane, so zigzagging in and out of there, but still doing very high speed. We're about clearing LAX's airspace here. Now moving southbound. We're starting to get into we're still kind of in the Manhattan Beach area here. Southbound on the 405 freeway. We'll be coming up on El Segundo Boulevard and then Rosecrans. So still very high speeds. Like you said, just looking at the maps as well, it doesn't slow down until about Redondo Beach Boulevard. A lot of that traffic still very much lighter than usual because in a normal day, the backup would start at the 105.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're now moved into Hawthorne. Kevin, talk about some of the things that law enforcement can do. I mean, what's the approach here, especially in tracking mode? Is it basically just wait this guy out and hope he runs out of gas?
Yeah, at this point, a combination of things going on. CHP, because of the recklessness of it, CHP is just going to sit back on it, and they're going to watch him. What they do
multiple cruisers now trying to get ahead of this driver.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it looks like they blew by him. It looks like they blew by him there, not knowing, thinking that he was still running that carpool lane. So
there they are. Okay, so they're right up there now with him in the carpool lane. You can see the speeds, though, are not that excessive. I don't know if that vehicle saw those CHP officers and was trying to kind of think about what to do, which actions to take.
Could they try to deploy a spike strip on the freeway or something? I mean, why are they, could that be a tactical thing, trying to get ahead of him?
They were just running in that carpool lane, trying to catch up to him, and they just blew right by him. Since he kind of pulled over and slowed down a little bit, they really just blew right by him until the air unit told them to check up and that they passed the vehicle. So now they're still continuing southbound here. The spike strips on the freeway, like the 405 here, are just way too big of a freeway, and especially as erratic as this driver has been in and out of all lanes, back and forth between the carpool, the right shoulder. There's just too many avenues to avoid.
We're getting off the freeway here, or at least we may be getting off the freeway here.
And perhaps seeing that there was traffic ahead, because we're coming up on that Redondo Beach Boulevard there, perhaps it looked a little bit more backed up. Yeah.
Getting off in Inglewood here, so we'll see which way you can go north or south here on Inglewood.
And you wonder where this driver, we keep saying him, assuming that it's a him, and in most cases it is a him, but we don't know that for sure. It could be a female driver. Just throwing it out there.
That's true.
All right, so southbound on Inglewood here is going to take us into like the Redondo Beach, inland Redondo Beach area.
Those windows are pretty tinted. It's hard to get a good look at the driver because it looks like they may be illegally tinted windows there.
And Kevin, we haven't heard if there's anybody else in that vehicle, have we?
No, the windows are so tinted they haven't been able to see inside to see if anybody else is inside the vehicle besides the driver.
So now we are stopped at presumably a light here, getting off the freeway at Inglewood Avenue. There is that driver who has been going in and out of lanes, has shown a propensity to do a lot of dangerous maneuvers. Here, stopped at a light. We don't see any cruisers immediately behind that driver. And now the question is, where is that driver going to go next? As we go onto side streets now, the driver already getting the speeds up pretty high, pretty dangerous speeds for a side street, approaching 60.
And then got a left turn lane to clear for the traffic clear out, and then he blew through it, going southbound here. So southbound on Inglewood, headed towards like the South Bay Galleria area. Oh, looks like he's gonna get into smaller streets, residential streets here.
That's always scary. You think of people perhaps out at this hour, maybe going for a walk with the dog, trying to get a little sunshine in while it's a little bit cooler now as it becomes evening. To think that there's a driver who's been driving the way we've seen this car go. Now, why did this driver get off on this street, in this location, and where are they going? That's a big question. You never know where they're trying to go. Is it somewhere familiar to them or not?
You can see it's a very small residential street. There is the CHP airship is still overhead and tracking this vehicle. So we're in the city of.
Okay, so now we're stopping. We're stopping. Hazard lights on. You wonder if this driver is going to get out of the vehicle here. Why particularly this place? As we've often seen, drivers will return to areas where they are familiar. You'd wonder if this person has some sort of connection with the street, and now back going again. Sometimes in the past, we've seen for these pursuits, drivers will return to an area that they're familiar with, get close to their house or a loved one's house or a parent's house, and get out of the car and bail the car there. It does not appear that this driver is bailing out, at least yet. It looks like those hazard lights remain on as this driver continues to drive. And now are we turning? You wonder if maybe this person's running out of gas? What is going on here? Now turning into a parking lot.
Is this person considering turning themselves in, ending this pursuit? How close is a law enforcement vehicle behind them?
Now we're in Lawndale.
Yeah, are there businesses that are open right there where people's safety is a concern right now?
So just parking it here in this strip mall on Hawthorne Boulevard, and just kind of acting like since maybe there weren't any black and whites behind him at that point that he can maybe duck in here.
What's going on right there? There's another motorist right there who seems to be talking or engaging with the driver in some fashion. You have to, okay, and then the pursuit is perhaps back on.
Here we go.
Wow.
Now you got units coming in on it.
Okay.
Now he's pulling out.
And is that going against? Here we go. Okay, and right past the pursuit.
Yeah, so we saw an officer right there as that driver drove out of that parking lot. You always worry about innocent people. That person that was engaging, it seemed, with that driver. They have to wonder what was said there.
And this seems to be a continuation of that pattern for this driver. When they slow down, stop, seems like maybe the pursuit's about to end, and then just take off in a fast and erratic way. So as we approach the top of the 6 o'clock hour, we want to welcome you to the Fox 11 News at 6 o'clock.
He's in the northbound lanes. He's going southbound in the northbound lanes of Hawthorne Boulevard here. There's a lot of.
So here we go, and now pulling into another parking lot. So as we welcome you to the Fox 11 News at 6, I'm Alex Michelson with Christine Devine and Kevin Kukumi. We are watching a reckless driver suspect who is driving out of control now on the streets of Lawndale. This is a pursuit that we started following about a half hour ago. It started in the San Fernando Valley. It drove through the west side of Los Angeles and through Inglewood, and now we are in the community of Torrance. As this driver continues to drive, we don't know exactly who it is. We're told law enforcement knows who it is. We don't know if it's a man or a woman, but we do know that whoever is behind that wheel has shown propensity to maneuver in and out of traffic in a very dangerous manner.
Let's talk about what we're seeing now as we've been watching this for at least 30 minutes here. We're now seeing this driver on surface streets doing some bizarre behavior, as in pulling into a parking lot, as if to bring the pursuit to an end, perhaps slowing at different locations. So you have to wonder if they're considering a foot bail, if they're considering ending the pursuit, and then you see them jump back onto the street there at full speed, taking off. So perhaps they're pondering what to do, but to see that car actually pull into a parking spot leads you to believe that they're considering in some way perhaps ending this, and then they seem to have a change of mind there, a change of heart.
And you also wondered in that parking spot if that person that was parked next to it had some sort of connection to this driver and was communicating with the driver, or if it was just a random person. So are we seeing somebody else in that car? Let's take a look now. We obviously see the driver. Can we tell if there's a passenger there from that shot? This is our best, this is our best look inside.
It's hard to tell, but it looks like there's only one person in it. It looks like they're very agitated.
Gesturing.
Driver's very agitated, gesturing. It doesn't look like there's a second person in the passenger side in the front, at least.
Screaming, talking to people. You wonder if this driver may be having some sort of mental episode or something. It looked like that driver was, screaming at traffic, looked upset. You also wonder if the driver may be communicating with law enforcement. We were told that law enforcement knows who this driver is, if they may be able to call into the person while they drive as well.
Yeah, because they've been pursuing the vehicle, then they backed off. They decided to re-engage at different times. You saw that there is a law enforcement vehicle behind that innocent vehicle, right behind the suspect there. So that's always a dangerous situation. People might think, why don't they bring this to a stop or run out and try to stop him? Well, you have an innocent motorist right there behind and right there in front. So sometimes it's the safest thing is to let this play out. Nobody's been hurt. No vehicle has been hit. No people have been injured or in the way. So what happens next?
But we have had some close calls, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially when we were on the freeway not too long ago, and that person was maneuvering through traffic. I mean, we were really close to a few bad accidents on the freeway.
You've got innocent people in the way right here, so it's hard to take police action when you have innocent people in the way. I mean, if police know who this motorist is, do they know if they have a gun? Have they been known to have a weapon? We don't know.
You've just got so much traffic around there. The car's at a stop, and I know people are wondering, why don't you just hit him right there? Well, you got one car right behind him, you've got a lot of oncoming traffic, and there's other traffic that's passing alongside him, so there just isn't enough room, even though the vehicles come to a stop here, to try and get behind and pit it. I think the next time, if the driver pulled into a spot again, as fast as the CHP was coming in there, they came in, and once they got closer, they kind of tiptoed into it. I wouldn't be surprised if next time if he does pull in, they come in and pinch it.
But you got to wonder, did that fire vehicle there know that there is a pursuit happening? You'd think there could be some communication.
So here we go again, and now, wrong side of the road. This is when it gets really dangerous, making a turn here. Are we going back onto a freeway? It appears like we are. So we're now.
So we came off of Prairie. Now we're getting back on the southbound 405. This is going to put us back south on the 405
back again to the southbound. So this driver not deciding to go northbound, not trying to go back to where they started, which was Tarzana or Encino. So they're continuing on the southbound freeway. Kevin, we talked about there being traffic backed up in these beach communities. What are you seeing ahead?
And he got clear of all that traffic that was in the curve area. So we're going to start making our way southbound here, getting into the Torrance area. It is pretty green all the way down the 405 from this point all the way down. There's a little bit of slowdown as you reach the 110 freeway. It's green all the way down to the Orange County border.
And one wonders, and this is just speculation, but given all of the activities of the last few months and so much public scrutiny of police tactics, if police going forward are going to be a little bit more hesitant to use any sort of force when they especially know that so many people are watching and what that may do in terms of the way things like this play out.
I think that's one of the reasons why they didn't try to maneuver. It was so erratic. Now speeds are starting to pick up again. But I think the reason why they re-engaged this pursuit, why the CHP picked it up, and the reason why they are keeping on it is because it has been so erratic. In and out of lanes, speeds picking up above 90 miles an hour again here to make our way southbound on the 405.
Torrance area through all the refiners and stuff. As I pull out a little wider shot, let's see if there's any units behind. It doesn't look like it. It looks like all we have overhead still is that CHP air unit calling this out to the ground units so that they are aware and they can get involved if they deem it safe. At this point, it seems like it's kind of hopping back in and out of pursuit to following, just depending on the demeanor of this suspect. And at the end of the day, the police, the law enforcement, their main goal is keeping people safe. And if their involvement is going to make it worse, and they can follow it from the air, that is what they're going to do. I'm going to hop off real quick and adjust my radio so I can hear this a little better, and then send it back down to you, Mike and Chair.
How erratic and sort of unpredictable this driver has been, and which is why it has been such a challenge for law enforcement to try to end this thing. Maybe we can also try to get the video queued up from earlier, guys, of when the driver was on the freeway and weaving through traffic and almost hit a few of those cars as well.
And Kevin, let me ask you this question. When that driver did actually pull into a parking spot at a strip mall of some sort, could CHP have boxed him in? Were they close enough? Because I know they've been engaging and then pulling away and then re-engaging.
They could have made the attempt to try to pin him in there. Like I said, I think if that happens again, they may. It looks like we're going to transition here on the 110. We're going to go on the 110 here. Let's see which direction.
Looks like south.
It's looking southbound on the 110 freeway here.
Well, now we're on a freeway, so that opportunity to box that driver in it looked like almost like an industrial business kind of strip mall. But there was another motorist out of their car, perhaps even engaging or talking or noticing this driver, so that could have been a dangerous situation. But we're back on for pursuit here on the freeway. This vehicle going southbound again. And it'll be interesting to see if they decide to get off the freeway. We thought perhaps maybe they got off the freeway because there was some traffic, a bit of a backup in that beach community area. But Kevin, you're saying now it's wide open.
Now it's wide open, but things changing a little bit here southbound on the 110 freeway, coming up to Torrance Boulevard, and staying on the 110 freeway here as we make our way south. So continuing on this takes us all the way down towards San Pedro. You get off anywhere else through Wilmington, Harbor City at that point, but we'll have to see how long this goes here. But speeds are once again kind of slowed down. The airshift's still tracking it. The units I'm hearing are about a quarter mile behind, so kind of far behind at this point. But with the airship tracking it, I think it sounds like they're trying to put together a plan. If he comes to a stop again and pulls into a space, this time I think they may actually get up in there and try to pin the vehicle this time. It's usual for their stance to be at a distance when they come to a stop like that. But because of the way this pursuit has been going, and then when the car came to a stop and then pulled, we had enough room for it to pull out. When the driver pulled out, I think it caught them a little off guard. Usually people don't do that when they pull into a parking. Yeah. That's kind of it. It gives up. But since he pulled out and took off again, I think a new strategy they're probably talking about on the side channels here to see if he does pull into a parking space again, if they do bring one of the larger cruisers up, the larger SUVs to come up and put it bumper to bumper just to be able to hold that vehicle in.
Well, Kevin, the 110 is going to be an interesting situation for them if this driver decides to stay on the 110 all the way until it ends in the San Pedro area, because then the roads change, right?
Yeah, the San Pedro area down as the 110 ends towards Gaffey is a very heavily traveled. At this time of day, there's a lot of traffic on Gaffey at this point, especially as you head all the way down Gaffey towards Point Furman. even if he cuts across and heads towards the port area. A lot of truck traffic, a lot of cars, a lot of stoplights, there's a lot of cross traffic as he makes his way through those kind of surface street areas.
Yeah, maybe they can get some kind of game plan to get a spike strip out if you're on those surface streets. Right now, this driver wide open there, going up to 90 miles an hour here, continuing southbound. You have to wonder if the driver even knows where they're going at this point in time, the 110 southbound. Do they know this area well? Do they know how it kind of comes to an end there on the surface streets?
There's a lot of transitions here, and even at the end of the 110 freeway, he can actually take the Vincent Thomas Bridge and head up over into the Long Beach area. So we'll have to see what happens here. At this pace, probably in about 5 minutes, he's going to reach the end of the freeway here. Have to make a decision whether he's going to go either on the bridge or if he's going to stay get on surface streets. Once he does get off the freeway, that's puts him back in LAPD Harbor Division's area, and then we'll see if LAPD gets back involved in this pursuit, if it continues to be as reckless as it has been.
All right, so we are looking at a pursuit. If you are just joining us here at 611 on Fox 11, this began about 5:15, 5:30 in the San Fernando Valley, the Tarzana area. At times, this driver has appeared to stop, pulled to a standstill. Whenever it appears like this is about to end, the driver has taken off recklessly. Originally, the call was reckless driver. We have certainly seen a lot of evidence of that over the last 45 minutes or so of our coverage, and we are now in the Wilmington community as this driver goes past 90 miles per hour on the freeway.
And the word we've gotten for a while now on this is that the CHP, they know who this driver is. They know it's a known suspect, quote. So you have to wonder how they know this person. Is it by tracing the plates? Did they get a call from a friend or a relative? Have they engaged themselves with the driver so they know who this person is? But almost the entire time we've been covering this, it's been considered a known suspect. So what kind of history there is with this person, hard to tell. What kind of insight they have,
and you also
hard to
wonder,
tell.
and our police specialist Dennis Nine will often remind us, Christine, in these scenarios is, as we approach now over 100 miles an hour, which is really dangerous, that oftentimes these people have had dealings with the law before.
Yeah.
They may have been behind bars, they have a criminal rap sheet, and so that may be another reason why they know these people too.
110 does end down here as we get into the San Pedro area, so we'll have to see what he does as we continue south here. But we are just going by the harbor now. You can see very light traffic here, sitting in that number 2 lane, and just listening to the traffic from the law enforcement on the ground. They are aware of where the suspect lives, or at least where this vehicle resides, and they are attempting to see if that might be the direction that he is going. But we are still going southbound now through the off-ramp for the bridge down here, and there you go through this interchange here, and this is where the freeway ends. So we'll see what happens as we get down here, as we hit more of the off-freeway traffic, those stoplights and things like that. We saw running lights earlier. We saw going wrong side of the road, which this time of day people trying to get home. That is extremely dangerous. Southbound Gaffey now from the 110 freeway, or eastbound Gaffey. And we'll have to see what he does here as he continues through the San Pedro area of Los Angeles. No units behind him, just an air unit overhead. Wanted for reckless driving and possible DUI on that CHP. We tried to pull him over like we talked about. LAPD got involved, back over to CHP, and it's been in and out of ground units behind it. He stopped multiple times. We saw that video earlier of him clipping a vehicle on the 405 as he attempted to jump through lanes to avoid traffic. And it looks like we are again sitting at a turn pocket here, sitting far back. That's a tactic he's been using throughout the day. It gives him that ability to change his mind if he wants to turn back into traffic, if he wants to do a U-turn, something like that. He has plenty of space, and so we'll have to see what they do here. The good thing about a vehicle of this size is if the ground units do get involved and they do get a moment, it is small enough for a pit maneuver because of its size. The SUVs and the units that both the LAPD and the CHP have, they would be a possible pro to attempt that sort of tactic in this. Now, just listening right now on the radio, we haven't been able to get it confirmed, but they are learning by talking to people knowing this person or the suspect in the vehicle that he has been known to have a weapon. So that's going to bring in a whole other level of safety measures that the ground units are going to have to abide by to protect themselves and the public if this does end. So we were just talking about pit maneuvers. Sometimes when there's weapons involved, that's out of the question because you would hate to have this vehicle get disabled and then the suspect come out shooting if it's like facing the patrol vehicles. So we did that U-turn here on Gaffey, and we're going to have to see what he does here. He has the ability to get on the 110. It looks like that's what we're doing, back on the 110 northbound from Gaffey, and just going with the speed of traffic here again. So this is what we've been seeing all day. It's just erratic movements, doing different directions, just attempting to evade the police. But the thing about this is our departments down here, they have those air units, and when they have these suspects in sight, they don't let that go away. There's always an air unit overhead if they are in pursuit. Once one arrives, pretty much they often never step away, and they always have an eye on that suspect and always know where they are, so that those ground units can get involved when necessary. But now northbound 110 coming up on the Channel Street exit, going about 90 miles an hour, and now going the opposite way. So we've done pretty much a big circle from earlier. This is where he supposedly resides and comes from. We went all the way from the San Fernando Valley down here, and are now making our way back northbound from down here. Headed back up to 110. We'll have to see where it goes from here. But 90 miles an hour or so in that number 1 lane light traffic as we continue here on the 110 northbound. Roger. let me pull out and look real quick. I don't hear any on our police scanners here, but as you can see, there's really no one behind him except other traffic that's catching up. But that suspect there still hugging that number 4 lane, going about 80 miles an hour, like you're saying. Odd times right now with these freeways being empty. Any other time of the year, if we didn't have a pandemic or stay-at-home order, these would be full of commuters trying to get home from their day at work. So the good thing about that is there's no one out here, or at least less people out here, that could get hurt from this driver driving in such an erratic and reckless pace. But we are still continuing northbound. That area units overhead, calling it out, going through what's going to be Sepulveda now, northbound on the 110 freeway, 80 miles an hour or so. We're going to try to get to one side or the other, but let's push in and see if we can see anything on the back of this vehicle that is of any interest. I don't see anything there. But like I said, the law enforcement agencies have been able to get that license plate that we can see there and run it and know who this guy is and are attempting to talk to him or attempting to talk to family, know what's going on in that vehicle. We've heard that the suspect, if it is a suspect that owns the vehicle inside that vehicle, has been known to carry weapons he does live in that San Pedro area, so now we're leaving that area, but all that information is really good for law enforcement as they continue to follow and pursue this vehicle, as it puts everyone in a safer mindset, knowing the situations that can occur. Let's pull out just a little. I saw that vehicle right behind it. It doesn't look like it's in a law enforcement vehicle, just another vehicle going at about a similar pace. But coming up on Carson Street now, roughly 80 miles an hour through that light traffic. You see him just passing in that number 4 lane there. But we'll have to see what happens as we get closer to the 405. We're probably about 3 minutes away from the 405, so about 5 miles or so from the 405 as we go through that Carson off-ramp there. But this vehicle slowing down just a bit as we got on the freeway. Not seeing those units behind it, not seeing them on the side of the road or anything anymore. Just beginning to go with the flow of traffic. And we haven't seen this for quite a while. Anytime he's been on the freeway after being followed by a unit, he's been driving extremely erratically, jumping between all the lanes, and it seems like he's pretty much sticking to that 3 and 4 lane right now. Kind of going a little faster than traffic, but nothing that would set most officers off back in that number 4 lane here in the Carson area, northbound 110 freeway. And we'll have to see what happens as he gets up here closer to the 405 through the Lamo now. He is set up if he sticks over here in the number 3 and 4 lanes to go southbound on the 405. And that is, it's not, looking out my window, it's not packed, but there is a higher flow of traffic on the 405 right now than the 110, that's for sure. And so we might see some of that erratic behavior coming again if he feels pressured or worried about the police being involved. But he does have that air unit overhead. I hear him right now giving the updates to the ground units and to the supervisors back at the Communications Division of California Highway Patrol who are making decisions on what to do next with this pursuit. But southbound 405 now, and going towards Long Beach, that's going to be the direction we are going now as we turn that southbound 405. We'll see if he gets off again or something. As like we were saying, the car does register back to San Pedro, so we're not sure where he's going now. We thought for a moment that he was going back home, but it doesn't look like that's the case anymore. Now jumping through lanes on the southbound 405 here through Carson. And we'll have to see what he does from here. Now up to 85 miles an hour again, so got back on this freeway with more traffic, sped up quite a bit, coming up on Delamo on the 405. Delamo kind of goes through the 110 and the 405 into that carpool lane now, just speeding off. With no units behind, but we do have an air unit above, and this suspect is not going to get away from that air unit by any means, whether he's in the car or on the ground. Those air units are trained to keep an eye on that suspect and not let him go. But we're jumping through that carpool in that number 1 lane, getting out of the way of the traffic. And that's some of the erratic behavior that those CHP units earlier might have noticed, and that might have been the reason they attempted that original traffic stop. But those CHP units saw him going the wrong way on a side street and said, no way, that's too dangerous, we don't want to put anyone at risk. If we step away, this might get a little slower and a little more safer, and we can pick him up later. We have an air unit over it, and that's pretty much the mentality of this whole pursuit. We'll get involved when we deem it safe, but if the suspect gets erratic or starts doing things that are dangerous, we're going to step back and let that air unit do its job, because it's not worth it to us to put anyone else in danger. Coming up on Wilmington now, southbound 405, going about 95 miles an hour or so around this bend here. There is some heavy traffic around the corner as I look out my window, so we'll have to see what the suspect decides to do here. He's jumping all the way over into that number 4 lane. Coming up on Wilmington, going over the LA River there, but we're exiting Wilmington now here from the southbound 405 here in Carson. And we'll have to see what he does as we get off this off-ramp. And we're in that right-hand turn pocket. He's being patient. He's not going to try to jump around that vehicle, it looks like, which is good, especially with that oncoming traffic coming from under that overpass. They might not see him with the concrete stuff that usually holds up those overpasses, and the large trucks that are coming down into the harbor for all that shipping. This could be extremely dangerous. But now we are going to go southbound Wilmington from the 405, jumping over into that left-hand turn pocket. We'll have to see what he does there. And this is the theme we've been seeing, is hopping on and off the freeway, trying to see if probably units are following him or what's going on there, giving himself options to get out of whatever situation he is. When we first came on air with this, as you guys recall, this had stopped in a parking lot. He had been off the freeway in the Redondo Beach area, and he had stopped in a parking lot, and then the CHP arrived, and he said, nope, I'm not ready to give up, and put it in reverse, pulled out of that parking spot, and the pursuit went on. But now we are westbound 223rd Street here in Carson from Wilmington, up to 50 miles an hour, passing that big rig there. Very dangerous on these side streets to be going that speed, especially with slower traffic. No one's expecting for cars going that speed. Wow, just going around that vehicle on the right shoulder there through the intersection there, and we are still continuing westbound on 223rd from Lou Crane, coming up on Edgar Street, up to 80 miles an hour. Wow, on a surface street.
So now you can see still going 80 miles an hour here, zigzagging in and out of traffic, just kind of using the right shoulder parking area here. And coming at this is a street that has a lot of cross traffic as we come up here.
Well, you got to feel for people that might be out there on the streets at this hour. This would be a time people would be out there maybe going for a stroll or going for a walk, walking to the grocery store, walking the dog here. You know, it's becoming evening. It's cooler out. At least the driver is stopping there for a red light. We have seen the driver comply that way for the most part.
Well, I mean, the one intersection you just went through was a stale red, so there's just a lot of cross traffic right now if he even went for it. It'll be like cross traffic that is left to right on him. But you can see he's like looking and inching forward every once in a while, trying to find a spot that he can jump through and continue through the intersection. But he's all, he's got the nose of the car sticking out there right into the crosswalk area, and it looks like you can see he's waiting for that left turn traffic to clear here, waiting for that light to turn green, or even if go ahead of it.
That's 100% right. We are at 223rd Street west now through Figueroa now, coming up on another stoplight here. He's stopping for this light, which is great because we saw that cross traffic there. But going into upwards of 70 miles an hour plus down these surface streets is extremely dangerous, as we were just saying. But westbound, we are coming back up on the 110 freeway, so kind of done a big circle. Goes down 110 up to the 405, getting off on Wilmington, back down here to 123rd, almost at the freeway once again. I'm not sure if he has on ramp here. Let's pull out a little wider and take a look. It doesn't look like it. He doesn't have on ramp on the other side of the freeway where he can go southbound. So we'll have to see what he makes his decision to do here. But we are following this gray Ford Fiesta here, wanted for reckless driving on the possibility of DUI, crossing over the 110 freeway on 223rd Street, coming up on Vermont Avenue now here in the Wisconsin area. Just hearing from my pilot now, we're actually going to have to step away and grab some fuel. We've been on this pursuit so long. So I'm going to send it back down to you guys. We're going to grab some fuel and we'll be back over it as soon as possible. Okay. Thank you. We're grabbing fuel. Heading for fuel. We are going to Long Beach. Okay, whatever you know. Pilot's saying Hawthorne's faster. We're going to go to Hawthorne. We're good. Let's go. Do center Skycam. We're going for fuel. We'll touch a bit.